Hello, and welcome to the 2022 Be Original America's Virtual Student Fellowship. Thank you for tuning in. We are excited to be joined by Kvadrat this morning for today's presentation. Now, I'm happy to introduce today's speaker. Stine Find Osther has been part of Kvadrat's product development team for over 10 years. Today, she is the Vice President of Design, overseeing the design direction of the company's collections and connected brands. Today, she'll be exploring Kvadrat's involvement in contemporary art and design, as well as how long-term collaborations with international artists and designers have become an important part of the company's DNA. Welcome, Stine.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. I have been looking forward. I will briefly tell you what I will talk about, and I will very shortly just tell a little bit about what is Kvadrat and our view on sustainability on a general level. In our belief in collaboration, I will present you a few of the creatives we are working together with to unfold how we are working together with them. And then I will jump into product development and how we in product development are working with our heritage, with our external creatives, and with sustainability as driver next to creativity. Kvadrat was established in Denmark in the late 60s. And on this lovely picture, you can see the two founders, the two gentlemen on the bicycle. The headquarters is located in the countryside of Denmark. We have extremely beautiful nature around us, and it is still the two families who are running Kvadrat today in second generation, which took over in 2000. It has never been discussed if Kvadrat should move from this tiny place, because we feel closely connected to both the nature but also the society around us. Here you see some pictures from our headquarters. It's newly renovated by the interior architect Seville Peach, which is located in London. Several focused a lot on opening up our company, so the full house works as a showroom. Kvadrat is involved in 4,000 building projects every year, and we are having showrooms all around the world. Newly opened two in the US, one in New York and one in LA. I will show you pictures later on. Here you see our showroom in our headquarters, and you see the high amount of textiles hanging alongside the wall. We are having around 1,000 employees divided in product development, finance, production, etc. So we are becoming a very big family. Here you see our showroom in Copenhagen. It's very important for us is that all our showrooms look different. And the reason for this is that we have different designers or architects driving how the different locations should look. So, of course, there should be a strong Kvadrat DNA, but it's also very important for us that each location look different. The one you saw before was the New York City showroom, and this one is designed by Ronan and Avan Bolek, which is located in LA. And just a very quick jump into how the organization is built up. We have Kvadrat as the mother, you can say, for the full family of brands. This is the R&D department I'm driving on a daily basis. Then we have different brands underneath, and I will just show you pictures because it's more fun than looking at letters. We have Kvadrat Shade, which is making high performance textiles for roller blinds. To glare control, this means that if you are using these roller blinds in your building, you can lower the temperature without having air conditioning, for example, which I believe our planet is very happy for. We are having Kvadrat Acoustic, which is giving acoustic solutions, and all these solutions is in some way or another having textiles as an element. We are having Kvadrat Fabric, which is knitted upholstery fabrics. The R&D department running this is located in the Netherlands. Really is a very exciting family member. It is upcycled textile waste into these boards, which can be used for example, tabletops, or they are also making an acoustic felt. So this is like the starting point of being a circular company. Sacco, another member in the family, is developing very luxurious high-end textiles for private consumer, both curtains and upholstery. The newly born is Kvadrat Raf Simons, the accessory line which we launched some months ago. Raf Simons have been connected to the company for many years, developing upholstery fabrics. Now we have, together with him, introduced a line of high-end home accessories with the shaker system as main inspiration. Another newly arrived family member is Magneberg. Magneberg is producing bed linen, and really it's an extremely curious company who are really questioning the borders of how you can work with bed linen. And now arriving to sustainability on a very high level in the organization, we have always worked with sustainability. We have maybe not talked so much about it if we are looking backwards, but of course today it's our main focus. And it's very important to say that for us, sustainability is not only connected to the product. It's something we are looking at all levels at Kvadrat. So how are we moving our textile from one end of the world to another? How are we heating up our buildings? So etc. But what we have done specifically for the product developments around the world is to create some design principles, which is helping us navigating in this you can say new world or new way of designing. We have committed us to be science-based targets, so it means that we work with data-driven sustainability, so we can ensure that the decisions we are making and the initiatives we are taking is able to be measured, so we can see how we are moving forward. And our main goal is, of course, to receive a net zero. We are documenting our products throughout LCAs and EPDs to understand how we also can communicate with the architects and building industry out there. And then we strongly believe that this is not something we can solve alone. So this means that we are working closely together with all our collaborators to make sure that this journey keeps moving, and someday we can reach the goal we are having. We are so lucky to have own production mills and also production sites which we are owning partly. This really creates a perfect platform for making product development, because we are working so deeply together with these production units, which makes it possible for us to optimize in all the levels of textile production. 80% of the meters we are producing total inside the Kvadrat umbrella is produced in our own production sites. And I will return to this a bit later to be like a bit more practical about what it actually means when I say that owning our own production sites actually open up for a lot of opportunities when it comes to sustainability. Yeah, we strongly believe in collaboration, and the way we work and have always been working have been in this kind of triangle. You can say we have Kvadrat's internal R&D department, we have our external creatives, and we have our production units. And we believe that only in the dialogue between these three parties, we will be able to search the boundaries of what's possible inside textile design. We never work alone. It means that behind each product we are developing, we have an external creative. Normally I say that the external creatives is actually our trend material. Kvadrat don't work with trend material in the normal understood way. We see ourselves having this big soup in front of us and then adding all the thoughts and conversations we have with the different creatives into this soup. And then in the end, we are able to navigate and find the right direction for our future products. I think being inside interior and being Kvadrat is quite important, not to run after the very fast trends, because we are a slow business. And if we were running about after the fast trends, we would somehow be left behind. I will show you some of the art projects we are part of. I will not talk detailed about all of them, but the one you see here, I will return to later to explain how exactly the journey was. This is a textile monster produced to a big Copenhagen show the artist Jan Vo had some years ago. But this is more to show you the diversity of how we interact with artists. We see it as somehow it energizes our creative world, working together with artists, because of course working with artists, you are working without any rules. When we make products to our collection, we have a lot of rules and requirements we need to live up with, but being inside the art world, everything is possible. And also some shows from New York. So I want to add a little bit of comments to this one. This is a pavilion just opened. Actually, I'm sorry that I can't show you this in real life. It's just outside the window where I'm sitting. It's a quite fantastic story. It's like Thomas Demand have been a collaborator of Kvadrat for many years. And years ago, Kvadrat bought a very big art piece from Rosemarie Toggle, but we never had the room to hang it up. And then the idea came, what about building a house for this art piece? And then the owner of Kvadrat was approaching Thomas Demand and said, hey, well, would you make a 3-dimensional art piece for us? And the only rule we have is that there should be room for a art piece inside your art piece. So this is the triple foley, which Thomas Demand have designed as his first 3D architectural art piece. And you should not read it as architecture, you should really read it as art. And inside the purple part of the building, we have the Rosemarie Toggle art piece. And the idea with this is to invite everybody who are working for Kvadrat inside this pavilion, and of course also our visitors, to get this amazing experience, to be wrapped in an art piece, and also in the same time being able to look at an art piece. And now we are ending in, or arriving in product development. Our main goal is that we want to inspire with our textiles. And just to show you a little bit about the volume, each tiny piece on this picture is a project. The team is on 10 persons, divided into 2 groups. One group is running the core developments, the products which will end in our collection. And the other group is textile engineers running a lot of front-end research. And what we then do when we have matured the research and it's like mature enough to enter a pipeline, we are having a meeting which we are calling Project Tinder, where we are presenting our design ideas and the textile engineers is presenting the front-end research. And then we are like sliding if we believe there is a match. As you can see, we're working on more than 100 projects all the time. Some of them, of course, more intense. And behind each sample, there will also be an external designer. This is like maybe not the most beautiful drawing, but me trying to explain how the world is changing for Kvadrat. If we look backwards, we more or less always knew when we started the development, we will work with wool or polyester. And we, of course, expect some challenges on the way to the final product, but we were more or less knowing the road we were walking. Today, with the world we are living in, we are starting with a lot of question marks, and we for sure don't know exact the way we are walking, but we know somehow what kind of product we want in the end. And I'm sure that you are also facing the same challenges, that the world is full of question marks, and we need really to work strongly together to find the answers on these questions. And this is our friendly sustainability monster. When you are a company like Kvadrat and we use a lot of raw material, we use a lot of energy on producing our textiles, we need to find some kind of way of, like an easy way of asking the right questions when it comes to sustainability, but also find a good way of navigating in why we're taking the different choices we are. So our textile monster is a 3-legged monster. One is the material content in the actual product. The other is process. And when I say process, it's like we call it micro innovation. Every time we loop our process, we ask if we can do it a little bit better. And just to give you an example, when we finish a textile in the end of the production, there is different ways of doing it. And we are, for example, using a lot of heat. Instead of just finishing all the textile at the same temperature, we were asking ourselves, could we make an investigation in lowering the temperature? And then we have done on our full collection to find out that, this product, we can lower the temperature 2 degrees. This we can lower it 5 degrees. This we cannot lower it. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you are producing so many kilometers of textiles, it is actually a lot of saving every year. So for me, sustainability is also a lot about questioning the present, and if we can do it a little bit better or more clever next time we do it. And the last leg we are working with is longevity. We strongly believe that our products should have a long life. So imagine if you take some recycled content, which is super sustainable, you process it and end up with a textile which is having low quality and only will last for a few years, then in our opinion, you have wasted the material, but you have also wasted a lot of energy making the textile for somehow no use. So therefore, when we take decisions inside this, we try to find the perfect balance about, if we compromise here, can we then still produce textiles in the high level we want? And this is, I think, a journey which will never stop. We take color extremely serious, and we spend a lot of time working with colors together with our external creatives. And the way we do it is that we are so lucky that we don't work up against any color systems. We are allowed to invent all our colors ourselves. And very soon I will introduce you to a designer who have a very special way of working with colors. But you see on the tiny mood board created by Giulio Rodolfo, you can see that we can take colors from ceramic, a postcard, it can basically be anything. And then our production unit is developing these colors from zero every time. This also means and allow us to have a very high diversity in our collection, because it's not, if Giulio Rodolfo have defined a color, a blue color, for example, we will never use this exact blue color with another designer. Then we'll let the other designer invent their own blue. And in the process of making the textiles, it's not unusual for us to have maybe more than 1,500 color swatches to choose from. And maybe the aim is to pick around 20 colors. And this process is, of course, extremely abstract. And luckily, we don't have any exact rules about how many colors we are choosing. Of course, we know something about should it be 100 or should it be 10, but we're really trying to let the material guide us. And the way we talk about colors is often very closely related to family members. We say that in a color range, we need maybe a strong uncle and a very annoying smaller brother. You need a caring mom. And then in the end, all the colors have a very important role to play. They, of course, also need to be extremely beautiful on their own. And now we are arriving at Giulio Rodolfo. Giulio is extremely important for Kvadrat when it comes to color. He was introduced in our collection in the mid-2000s. And Giulio introduced a new color language to Kvadrat, coming out of the 60s, being very bright and bold, developing even more electric colors in the 80s. Then it was very lovely when Giulio arrived and explained us and learned us about intertones. And what's very special with Giulio's work is that you can never explain his colors with only one word. And that's often due to that they are melange. The way Giulio works, to give you an example about how we are building up color stories, is that Giulio travels a lot and he collects objects when he travels. And when he arrives at Kvadrat, he has this amazing big pink suitcase. He calls it the Mary Poppins suitcase. And then he unpacks it, build up small scenarios, you can say. And then he actually leaves, because then he trusts us to translate this very abstract color universe into something the production unit can translate into textiles. And then, of course, we meet again when the colors have been moved from the object to the textile. And then we are starting to discuss how to settle the collection. The next designer I wanted to introduce you to is Margrethe Odgaard. Margrethe is a textile designer, educated. She is living in Copenhagen, Denmark. And what's very special with Margrethe is that she is equally academic in her brain and emotional or like creative. This is extremely interesting for us because she is pushing the boundaries in another direction than Giulio, because she is bringing something else on the table. And how Margrethe is working is that she have developed her own color system, and you see the small sticks she have painted. And when she explains how she judges if a color is good or bad, she said, if I would like to eat it when I have it in front of me, then it's a good color. And what Margrethe is especially good in is color combinations. And very often when we work with textiles, we work with color combinations in a tiny scale, because it's like maybe very thin threads we are mixing, which can be very abstract to plan. before you actually see it in the textile. But Margrethe have this skill that she can make color combinations, which maybe in front of you when you have big pieces look weird or maybe slightly annoying. But when you then translate them into the textile, they are very like digestible and lovely to be around. The next designer I want to show you is Jonathan Oliviers. Jonathan is LA-based, and he is working again in a totally other way. Jonathan approached a product with an idea about building a carbon fiber bench, and he were asking if we could develop a textile looking exactly like carbon fiber, having exactly the same color. His idea was that on distance, you should not be able to see if it was a hard or a soft material. This textile we made specifically for this bench, but we fall so much in love with it. So we decided to unfold it in more colors. So what you see on the picture is twill weave. And Jonathan is extremely concept driven. And he is so strong in his belief in the concept. So we cannot move away from the concept when we are developing, which is really pushing us and our suppliers to new places. Sometimes trying to hit a color he wants 10, 20 times to match it perfect. Twill weave, all the colors from twill weave is coming from minerals. So if you place, for example, the pale yellow color is coming from when you have gold dust. And it was quite amazing to see that it was actually being stubborn in the process possible to match these minerals exactly on the textile surface. And here you can see like an example. Another project we have done together with Jonathan is broken twill weave, which is a recycled polyester fabric. The idea from Jonathan is sketching a textile house, which should be built in Mexico. He have dyed the bricks for this house, which will be built in a twill weave pattern. And then he was having this idea about what about if we were creating a textile in exactly the same colors to put inside the house. And this we launched last year. The house is not done yet, but the textile is, and you can find it in our collection. But I'm looking crazy forward to see how it will look with this textile in the house with exactly the same colored bricks. And just to show you how we are building up our collection in also families, now we are looking into introducing a curtain also, which is having exactly the same like color inspiration as the upholstery fabric, but of course looking different because each material take up colors differently. So this is also planned for being showed in the textile house someday. And now arriving to the art piece, I showed you the textile monster. The lovely lady on the screen is Nana Ditzel, and Nana Ditzel designed Hallingdal back in the mid-60s, and Kvadrat is built on top of Hallingdal. It was the first textile in our collection, and it is still one of our best-selling fabrics. We have, to maintain Hallingdal, we have given it new colors a couple of times to make it look fresh and new. But every time we do it in collaboration with Nana Ditzel. Even though Nana is not alive anymore, then we work with her archive and of course with her kids. And then back to the art piece. Jan Vo, which is a Vietnamese Dane artist, called me and said, do you have an archive of old Nana Ditzel pieces? I really want to dive into this. And I'm dreaming about a space-specific installation for my solo show in Copenhagen. And the reason for Jan being so interested in, for example, nanodigital is that he believed that a lot of female artists and designers was living behind the male creatives in their time. So he really wants to take these big talents into the light. And Jan Wu was falling in love with this lovely sample, which is in our archive. This textile is older than Kvadrat, designed by nanodigital. It is actually designed in the same collection as Hallingdal, as a big group of fabrics, but we have never had it in collection. And here you see, like Hallingdal is the small one, and the archive fabric is the big one. So basically, the archive fabric is like looking at Hallingdal in a magnifier glass, which of course for us is extremely interesting, working with something which is so strongly Kvadrat's DNA, but also a bit frightening because it's like almost touching the fundament we are standing on. But here you see the fabric used for the art piece. The idea was to weave the textile as it was in the original archive piece, but then echoing the architecture. So the squares is coming from the museum where the art piece is placed today. And here you see like the collaboration triangle of Jan Wu, the artist, and Denny Digital, which is the daughter of Nana Digital, representing her mother's DNA, and then Kvadrat. And then everybody loved this fabric so much, so we actually decided to start an industrial process of making this fabric into an industrial product to our core collection. And the way we did it was to question, of course, first of all, why should we do this? Because we don't see ourselves as a retro company creating, like giving life to old pieces. We really see ourselves as a contemporary company. So we wanted to redevelop this fabric into a version which fits the day of tomorrow. And the way we did it was to look at, it's an extremely heavy woolen product. And we said, okay, let's try to make this as a local production. So Siso is produced with Norwegian wool. The yarn is specially developed in Norway. It's dyed and woven also in Norway at our production site called Indvik. And then the color work is single-wise. When you look at the yarns, all the colors is coming directly from the archive of Nana. But some of the color combinations is new. And this is what we felt was necessary to lift it out of the 60s, to allow ourselves to translate Nana Digital's color language into our time. And here you see how we launched the textile. It was together with Jan Wu, the artist. He had this amazing house. It's an old clothes store. And then he simply upholstered some of the rooms fully in Siso, which was like entering this room was like getting a big hug, because it felt so comfortable having this thick wool around you. And then, of course, what we also did was to upholster the fabric on Nana Digital designed furnitures, somehow to close the loop of creating something which is pointing against the future, also answering some of the challenges we have by moving raw materials from one end of the world to another, and then dealing with the strongest Kvadrat DNA you can ever dream about. So now I actually arrived to the end of the presentation.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was a really interesting presentation, some really great insights. I wanted to jump right into the Q&A with some questions that have come in. And we'll start with a kind of fun and easy one. We had some feedback about the sustainability monster that you showed. Have you named the sustainability monster?
No, not yet, but I think it's a really good idea. I will definitely do that on my next creative team meeting. Bring that up. Yeah, that could be
Perfect.
nice.
Well, you'll have to let us know so that we
Yes,
can
I will.
share.
Yes.
Great. So I wanted to go back to some of the partnerships that you have talked about. They're really interesting and really great. But how do you decide what designers that you work with? Do people come to you? Do you go to them? And what are the criteria that go into deciding on a creative collaboration?
I think when you look at the mass of our external designers, they're coming from extremely different backgrounds. Some is textile geeks and some don't know anything about textile. And this diversity is extremely important for us because each person can push the boundaries of what's actually possible inside textile design. Knowing a lot about textiles, then you don't ask all questions because you already say, oh, this is not possible. But if you don't know anything, you are somehow just demanding your ideas. And then we are trying to find a solution. But I would say we are extremely lucky at Kvadrat in these days that it's more a question for us to choose from the big amount of persons who wants to work with us. And it's like the hardest part of my job to select between all the amazing creatives in the world. But what we do is we want to find gaps because we already have a big family. And we want to work together with the same creatives again and again, because we strongly believe that in collaboration, you get better and better every time you do it. So if a very skilled designer approaches, but I have a profile which is similar in the family already, then it's difficult for us to invite this person inside, because it's very important for us that each designer or creative are driving the developments in different directions. So yeah, and then we're also trying to have you can say, from the newly educated textile talent to Raf Simons, Patricia Kjola, the Bow-Leg brothers, etc. So we are trying to have from the unknown talent to the very known persons.
For those creative collaborations, do you how much control over the creative process and the end result do the designers have? Do they have full control over their own creativity, or who has the final say in what comes of the collaboration?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we are allowing a very high level of freedom when it comes to creativity, because we strongly believe that a part of our success is that we are allowing the creativity to be a big part of the picture when you look at Kvadrat. But I would say it's a very equal collaboration. So when you work with Kvadrat, you should also be open to listen to what the internal person in the team have to say, because of course we can say it's a very good idea to have a light gray in your scale, because the most meters we are selling is light gray. But if a designer says, I really don't like yellow, then we say, okay, but then this fabric will not have any yellow color. So in that way, we are allowing a very high level of freedom, you can say.
Are your designs more often guided by the materials that you're working with or hoping to work with, or are the materials chosen at the end to help achieve the design goals?
We see it as a puzzle that we have maybe a strong designer who have a very strong idea. We have an exciting material, a special way of producing, and then suddenly these ideas meet in a puzzle where no bricks are missing, and then we can run with that idea. Sometimes, of course, we are presented with a new exciting material, and then we feel sometimes that is like just a specific designer's name written on this material, maybe because we know their DNA so much, and we say, okay, she loves shiny things, maybe it's a good idea that we put these two things together. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can give an answer to that question.
One question to go back to kind of the very beginning. What does Kvadrat mean?
It actually in Denmark or Scandinavian, it means a square, which is difficult to pronounce when you are not coming from Scandinavian. I'm sorry.
Another kind of fun question, because color is so important to you and so important to Kvadrat, do you have a favorite color?
Yeah, this is my favorite question, and it's funny. I will tell you a story about my kids. I have brainwashed them so much, so they say, "Oh, mom, we love all colors," and that's really true. I think for me, it's more about color combinations. I can have periods where, for example, right now I really love orange, but it's very often orange together with another color. So it's more the communication between the different colors, which can make me extremely happy.
Another student question is there a way for students to get involved with Kvadrat or learn more about the process, especially for students where you may not have a presence where they are or might be interested in learning more about it?
I think definitely that there will be a lot of knowledge on our webpage about all kind of different things, and there is also a lot of movies explaining different things. But then I would say that we have showrooms all around, and everybody is always welcome to reach out. And then we normally find a way of supporting different, or of course also writing to the head email, and then it will some way be navigated in the organization.
And just a side note as well, if you check out the chat for today's webinar, there should be links to the website and the social media and different places and ways that you can get in touch with Kvadrat and follow what they're doing as well. A couple more questions. Do you have any recommendations for climate organizations or other companies that are doing good work with climate in design and the sustainability in design for students to follow?
I don't know. Maybe I can gather some and we can share them. I think more what we try to focus a lot on is, or maybe accept that working with sustainability and the climate change is that we need to accept that the steps we're taking today will not be the 100% perfect step, but it's a step in the right direction. So I think that is something which took some time for us to like put words on, that sometimes it feels it's hurtful to take a step when you know it's not enough. But in this journey to a more sustainable world, I think we have learned that the being in move and taking the tiny steps is more important than sitting and waiting to be able to take the perfect step in the end. And of course, our goal is to be 100% circular someday. It will require a lot and a lot of collaboration around the world, but it feels good to be on the go, at least on this journey.
Yes, definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
The one last question to kind of wrap things up. We've been asking all of our panelists this, or our presenters this. What advice do you have for students that maybe they're not getting in the classroom that you could share from your experience at Kvadrat and in the industry?
That was a crazy end of question. I don't know. I think it's remembering back being a student, I think can be very, it's like I miss it sometimes because you are allowed to ask a lot of questions and maybe also allowed not to force answering so many of them than you are forced to when you are on the other side. So I think when if we are zooming in and looking like on textiles, it's really, I think, to dive into the detail of textiles and also learn about like the complexity behind, because it's like a very complex process dealing with industrial textiles, but it's also extremely beautiful and fun.
Well, Stine, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to have you, and thank you so much for attending.
Thank you. Bye.